Hello and welcome to this Future of Strategy fireside chat with Gwynne Master. Gwynne is a managing director of Lloyds Banking Group. She is experienced globally in senior leadership, and her focus now is on SMEs, corporates and financial institutions, and helping those organisations to trade more sustainably. Gwynne, I think it's fair to say sustainability is very close to your heart. But how can we maintain our conversations about sustainability, and what does it mean to you as a banker to be sustainably trading?
So at Lloyds Bank, we've been very public about our sustainability goals and the fact that we will achieve net carbon zero within a specific time frame. In answer to your question, what does sustainability mean within the context of trade? I think it really gets down to some of the things that you've been doing, Rebecca. The open app that you've built with the ADB to really look at supply chain around PPE, for example. That is such an exciting start because what you've done can apply to all product, to all supply chains. And for me personally in trade, this new technology that's out there, the ability to help small and medium-sized corporates get visibility of their supply chain, and then to put an overlay, an ESG sustainability overlay on top of that, is now within the realm of possibility. We bank 28,000 corporates, 26,000 corporates, I think it is, and about 1 million SMEs. The SMEs really don't have the resource to dig in. Yet at the same time, during COVID, we saw more than 60% suffered through such severe disruption, supply chain disruption. And a lot of that disruption occurred below that tier one supplier. It really occurred at levels, there's the suppliers of their suppliers, or even the suppliers of their suppliers' suppliers, right? Where they're seeing a lot of pain. On the sustainability side, as just like banks, banks are going to be required to report out their carbon footprint, and that's all about their balance sheet. Likewise, for our SMEs and our corporates, their carbon footprint is not only about their infrastructure in the UK, but also about their supply chain. And what we're seeing when we dig a little deeper is the carbon footprint of a client worsens fivefold once they start to incorporate their supply chain. So it's absolutely essential in the world of trade. And that's what we're all about, helping Britain trade, that we also help our clients do that in a more sustainable manner.
So, let's focus a little while on the definition of sustainability, because this is making sure that you've got recycling, isn't it? This is about how we manage work, how we manage our relationships with other businesses, how we manage our labour forces. It's everything that we do, isn't it? It's about managing our businesses in a different way.
Absolutely. It is pure ESG. It's not just the environmental, not just the green piece, but it is, our impact socially, our governance around what we do. It's everything that we do. And that's why ESG is so important. And that's why we're looking to agencies to help us with that ESG scoring on top of everything that you're doing, Rebecca, on the supply chain side.
So, supply chains, it's impossible to understate, as you said, how important supply chains are, because it's very difficult to understand exactly what's going on. You've talked a little bit about technology, and obviously we're a data provider as well. We're looking to analyze all of these things, but how are you seeing those things integrate into what businesses are doing on a daily basis?
I think there's still a bit to go in terms of integration. We're seeing some amazing component parts. So we've seen some incredible technology out there to really get a snapshot of a client's supply chain down to the ninth level. Things that the companies are doing and are able to show us, technology that's used by the White House, for example. But it's very expensive. And when you look to help an SME, we need something more affordable, and more affordable options are out there. So we are able to now take a look at several different offerings and look at that supply chain visibility and provide, we're looking to provide that to clients who can't do it themselves. The overlay, the ESG overlay, gets a bit more complicated, and that is not yet ready. It's all about market standards, isn't it? So what are we looking for? What are we rating? How do we get that information, and how do we validate it as authentic?
I think there's something very important to talk about for the world, and I think everybody needs to be engaged with this. So why is it a bank responsibility, and what can banks do to nudge their clients into different types of behaviors? Because I mean, speaking as an SME owner myself, it's very often the SMEs who get criticized for not being sustainable. And yes, as you say, it's extremely expensive to buy, the big SAP or the big Oracle platforms that allow us to track through our supply chain. So what can banks do to nudge us? What is it? Something through credit terms? Is it something through just the non-financial support, which is a huge element of banking these days?
So I think you're right. The first thing you said, it is a pan-bank effort. It's a pan-industry effort. It's not only the banks. It's the fintechs. It's the government. It's the regulators. I think it's a tax issue. Tax plays a critical role in building back greener. Some of the painful things that we have coming down the road. COVID, Brexit, excise taxes, etc., are out there. But at the same time, the role that the tax system can play in building back greener is, developing tax incentives for sustainable practices, not only taxing on revenue, but also on how revenue is generated. There's some very exciting things going on at ICC, looking at industry standards, looking at capital risk weightings around sustainability. So I think it's a team sport. No bank is going to be able to do it alone, but the incentives that are out there are big. And when it comes to banking on the pricing side, as soon as we get our ESG scoring right, there's an automatic enhancement in pricing for greener companies.
So I think one of the things that's really interesting here, we had an earlier fireside chat, and we talked to the guy that had been very heavily involved with the fair trade mark, and his view is exactly the same as yours. So there seems to be a sort of coalition around the idea that sustainability is everything we do. We all need to think about it. It's not just about one or two cooperatives. It's about the whole world thinking about this. Yeah. And then it's about everybody acting, everybody being incentivized, and in the end using measurement as a mechanism for creating value and incentivizing people. It's the carrot rather than the stick. So what, in your view, do we need to be measuring right now?
So I love your concept of the fair trade mark. I fully agree. I like that digital identifier that goes along with a product or a component. I like the idea of that moving through the global financial system, following the payment from beginning to end and traveling. What we talked about earlier, I think, really the passport that we use to travel is like the passport that component parts and companies can use within this arena of ESG, that trade stamp. Yeah, and what can we do in the banking arena to incentivize? Again, it gets to risk weightings, doesn't it? And how we risk weight the corporates that are on our balance sheet.
So, I mean, I think all of this is really fascinating, and I think the one thing I'm learning from all of this is that if there's a will, there's a way. And earlier on in the conversation, you said to me, I'm very optimistic. In 5 years' time, we'll have the technology, we'll have the passports, we'll have the mechanisms for doing this. How do we get there? Because we you know, we've been talking about sustainability for years, and I think the big challenge is not the vision of the future, because I think we believe we will get there. But if it takes too long, or we're still talking in the same way in 5 years' time, we won't have improved anything, and it'll be too late, because our planet won't, for our children, won't be the same as the planet that we saw.
Fully agree, Rebecca. And we can't repeat past mistakes either. We can't go down the KYC path that the industry has been down, right? Where banks are repeating KYC analysis on companies over and over again, and it becomes a spider web of wasted effort. I think that digital identifier of a client is absolutely the way to go, that trademark. But how do we get there now? It's got to be an industry group with the likes of you, with the financial institutions, with tax authorities, with government, with corporates, working together to drive this hard. It's going to require government collaboration across national boundaries. The likes of the ICC, who are doing fantastic work around standards and measures, capital weightings. It's about the investor community. We've seen some great statements come out of the likes of BlackRock. That's going to have to continue and ramp up. And it's got to be a full force community in our various countries working together to make it happen, and to make it happen fast.
Gwynne, it's marvellous to listen to you talk, and thank you so much for your time. I'm going to summarise, I hope not too crudely, and I'm going to say this is about making something very, very, very complicated as simple as possible, so that we can all do it. It's about standards, it's about something like a passport that we all carry with us as an identifier that we are sustainable, and it's about thinking about sustainability in the round. Thank you so much for your time, really appreciated it. It's lovely to talk, and I wish you a happy conference as well.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Likewise, fabulous work, and it was a real pleasure meeting up with you.
Thank you.